get past the idea of doing or that I'm not doing. Because, every time that comes up and I'll hear you say we're not doing or I'm not doing, I go blank. I can't get past my confusion around that.
Do you have to get past the confusion? What's that blank like? Check out that blank.
Well,
is it peaceful there?
Well, it's certainly a not knowing. But why would I want to get past it?
Because do you even have to?
Well, it seems like it's a doorway to something that would be really profound to understand.
So something about you is doing, the body is doing, right? That much we can hopefully agree.
Right.
Your body does stuff like my body does stuff. And there's also an aspect to you that's not doing anything. That's yeah. And do you have to pick one of those?
Well, maybe the question comes up is, what's the connection?
So what's the connection?
Get the not doing. I actually do get what in me is not the body mind.
Yeah.
That was such a revelation. It blew me away. But
so where does this body and mind come from then that's doing? Where's the sense of doing come from?
I have no idea.
Where did it come from?
Well,
what is the source of it?
It comes from desire. It comes from a sense of responsibility.
Yeah. And before even that, where did it come from? Where does desire and responsibility come from? I'm making you work hard here, sorry.
Yeah, that's great.
I want to get to the bottom of this with you because I can see it's really been bothering you.
Where does it come from? Well, I don't know, maybe. Well, let's talk responsibility. That just seems like it shows up as a given. So I just do it, whether anything related to work or children or, that just, I don't fight that. If I feel it's necessary, I just do it.
Are you doing it? Who's fulfilling these responsibilities?
Well, and it comes back to the question, what am I?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to come to the realization that I don't know.
Go ahead, sorry.
Not I don't know out of ignorance, but there isn't anything I can define as me that I can grab a hold of.
That mystery we're talking about, yeah.
Right.
But isn't there also this body mind as well? Isn't there this other aspect to you? What you really are in your first and foremost is this invisible, unknowable mystery.
Right.
And then that mystery wants to move into a particular shape. It wants to appear as a form, a particular form, or all forms, but that silence, that stillness, that mystery also has this other aspect to it where it wants to move, it wants to take a shape, it wants to it's curious, and when it takes a form, it's curious about itself and about reality, and it makes this body mind so that it can explore itself on some level. As the mystery, it doesn't care, doesn't need to explore anything. But then when it makes a shape, it kind of really wants to explore, and it explores what it's like to be a rock and then a cat and then a human being. And it's moving into form all the time, isn't it? Pouring itself into this shape, in a way, for want of a better phrase. And with that comes a sense of doing, and a sense of responsibility, and a sense of a family and career and all those other things that come with that.
Desire
Say again?
or desire.
Desire, yeah. That's the big thing that comes with the shape. The shape moves by desire. Everything in manifestation moves by desire. The infinite mystery, no desire at all, nothing to desire outside of it, and nobody to desire. No such thing. But then it takes the shape as a human being, or even an animal. Animals have desires, sort of plants even, to survive, exist. And suddenly it's got this thing called desire.
Yeah.
And then it moves into ever more complex thought forms from there, doesn't it? This desire to take the shape of whatever it's moving into. So for me, there was this period of really focusing on the mystery till I really understood, but I'd really experienced that, and that I could not know it, and coming to real sense of joy. Then that wanted to move as this deepening recognition of the part that I could know, the mind, the body, the life. Like what's that? What's that about? Why is it even making a shape of a human being? Why does it do that? What's that about? There's this deeper thing happening. You're smiling, so maybe we've got through some. Did we get somewhere?
Something. You did.
So
You could.
necessarily we have to put a lot of attention on where the body and mind come from for quite some time until we break through into that seeing. But that mystery, we could also call it love, and it loves itself so much that it wants to experience itself, interact with itself, so it makes these human shapes where it can actually even come to recognize itself.
That's a really different way of looking at desire. When you always hear about desire being the thing that pulls us away.
It does for a while, until we figure out what we really want. So that desire, none of us would be here if it wasn't for that desire to wake up. None of us would be in the satsang right now, would we?
Right.
But that desire is diluted by, I want a better job, or I want another child, or I want more money, or whatever it is. I want to lose 40 pounds, or whatever it is that we want. And then eventually we kind of come to see that we want all those things because we think it's going to make us feel better. And actually what we really want is to feel as good as we can. And the best way to do that is to recognize who we really are.
Right.
And then there's a kind of a static phase a little bit while it sees itself. But then eventually it wants to move back into interest in the form, in the world of form. But from the place of knowing what those forms really are. It's not, we might even go back to those same desires. I want a better job. Okay, why? Well, because I deserve it. I want to have more fun. Not because if I can finally get a better job, then I'm going to feel good enough and be able to pay my bills, which might have been the desire that was driving it initially. Now it's like, what's it like to interact in this job with my co-workers, knowing who they really are, knowing who I really am. Now it's exploring and discovering. And it's driven by desire, isn't it? All of it. It's the whole, like it's exploring itself right now in this conversation, in this satsang. This desire is still functioning even here, isn't it?
Right.
Desire is such a dirty word sometimes,
Right.
almost taboo, because it doesn't have any desires when it's unmanifest, and that's true. But the other side of that coin is it has a lot of desires when it appears as a human being. A lot of desire. And, one of the first desires, how on earth did I fool myself so long into thinking I was a someone? How did I pull that off? So
Right.
make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right.
Here's this sense of doing and responsibility then we were talking about, where I thought it was me doing it.
Huh. I don't think you were going to be able to help, but you really did.
I don't know what we said, but we must have got somewhere with it. So as long as
Well,
it's this natural, I'm going to use the word inward first of all. It has to recognize itself in its invisible, intangible quality
yes,
aspect.
right.
But then the natural outpouring of that love and that desire is to want to re-embrace the human existence from the place of truth, though. What's it like to live my life as I'm conscious of who I really am and can't get caught anymore? What's that like to move around in the world knowing that everything is me? Not that I'm going to tell everyone because it would freak them out, but without that fear, without that resentment, without the resisting the desires when they come, those things.
But it's helpful for me to be reminded that the unmanifest is also the doer. Like that part of me that made that separation just couldn't get beyond it.
Mm-hmm. That's really profound what you just said there.
I know
The part that made the part that imagined the separation couldn't get beyond it. But the part that was never divided can really get what we're saying here, right?
Yeah.
Something just slots into that. Oh yeah, not an up here thing, just some recognition. So do you have any desires? Yes and no. That's best we can say, isn't it? We can't really say either way in the end, because to do so would be to limit one of the ways we can express ourselves.
Right. Wow.
Took me a long time to figure that out and a lot of suffering. So I'm glad we've been able to shortcut it. It's a big one, isn't it? Because there's still this seeming someone that's doing stuff, and there's the desires and all of that, even after you've seen who you really are. That's still going on in front of you as your life.
You made me cry.
Apparently I'll do that, yeah. Good tears though, happy tears, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you.
These things, they come up after your seeing has really deepened, because you've now got more energy and focus to begin to sort of look at these things. But mind takes them as a problem, like it always does, of course. So wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.